staff on ordinance 1492.
Now for motion that we, approve the first reading of the ordinance titled 1492 with the amending section 6A.
Is that right? 12 seconds. Is that right? Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the next one,
Item G.
prior to starting, I'd like George to explain it to everybody, the discussion.
For the record, I went read it by title only, so we have everything after that, you know exactly what item we're doing. Ordinance number 1498, an ordinance of the city of Live Oak, Florida, amending the future land use classification to 50 or fewer acres of land, small scale, on the future land use plan map of the city of Live Oak, comprehensive plan pursuant to an application CPA 23-03 by the City of Live Oak Community Redevelopment Agency under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3160 through 163.3215 Florida statutes as amended, and Article 3 of the Land Development Regulations, providing for changes in the land use classifications of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Live Oak, Florida. Said areas lying south of Cooper Street, southeast, east of Railroad Avenue, southeast, and west of Heritage Trail, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing authority, and providing an effective.
Thank you, George Curtis, Development Manager, City of Live Oak. This is a CRA-sponsored initiative to target an area that has been of interest by the CRA for the last several years as a result of the Swanee Packing property that we acquired and subsequently demolished in order to remove some blight. And what you find presently are a variety of land uses that are on the future land use map that's tied to our comprehensive plan. Those land uses were put into place back in the early 90s when we did a citywide adoption, and there's been no intensive redevelopment that has taken place in that area, but because of its location in the core area of the city along the Heritage Trail in close proximity to shopping, major highways, the downtown, we see it as a best case scenario to increase the residential density possibilities in the future on these 8-acre parcels totaling 8 acres. And what that would do doesn't change anything to do with who's there now or what they can and can't do, because the zoning is remaining the same, so everybody's ability to reside there or stay or go or buy or sell property is maintained. But by changing the future land use and increasing the density to 20 units per acre, it allows for future redevelopment to come in and change the zoning, which would come back before the city council on a parcel by parcel basis in order for a residential development to take place that would maximize that use on that property. So we did advertise this as required, and there was no positive or negative feedback received as a result of that. This did come before the Planning and Zoning Board at a meeting August 21st, and they did unanimously recommend to the City Council approval for these amendments to the future land use map. So staff's recommendation also is for approval, and if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Okay, we've heard recommendations from staff. Let's get a motion, and then we can get into discussion.
I'll offer a motion that we approve the first reading of ordinance 1498, amending the future land use classification to 50 or fewer acres of land. So stated out.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second, and open for discussion.
I'm okay right now. And I'll deal with on the second reading. Well, George, as far as, Mr. Curtis, as far as, is there an increase in residents, or are you trying to develop a housing subdivision? What's?
Well, the land use maps are a way for the city council to pre-plan what you would like to see happen in certain areas. And so we have a variety of densities across the city. Some of them are very low density agricultural areas, low density residential. You might need 1 acre per house or half an acre per house. But then we have areas that are targeted for higher density, which would support apartments, townhomes, condominiums, any variety of creative housing. So the changing the residential density to 20 units per acre, which is currently our maximum allowed for apartment style or single family style living or planned development style living, would enable a developer to come in and say, okay, I have this much property and I know going in that I have development rights that would enable me to build up to 20 housing units per acre of property. And so it's a way to incentivize property to show that the council has backed a policy decision to make the path smoother and more efficient for development to come in. And it shows developers that we're pro-growth and we're interested in doing as much as we can to support the community and the need for housing.
Okay. I'm good.
All right, since this is a ordinance, is there anybody from the public that would like to make comment? Hearing none. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance, sorry, 1498?
Yes.
1498 passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Purvis.
Next item would be ordinance number 1499, an ordinance of the city of Live Oak, Florida, amending ordinance number 817 as amended entitled the City of Live Oak Land Development Regulations pursuant to an application LDR 23-03 by the City of Live Oak City Council, adding, amending, renaming, reorganizing, renumbering, and/or striking portions of text within Article 4, zoning regulations, section 4.18 PRD, plan residential development, providing codification, authority, and severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. George Curtis, Development Manager for the City of Live Oak. This is a proposed amendment to the text of the land development regulations. Article 4 of the LDRs captures a description and makes provision for a variety of different kinds of zoning throughout the city. And this planned residential development zoning that we've had since 1985 or a little bit before that has made provision for somebody to come in and do a creative type of residential housing project. And Terra Trace is the only example I can provide to you in the city of Live Oak that has this zoning, but it's its own little community where they have more like townhome or condo style single lot line ownership of the units, and then there's like common area that's under like a homeowners association or a group oversight for maintenance and making offering the ability for the residents to have kind of shared use of that. What we found is while it's good to have that residential planned type development zoning, that it would also be a benefit for the future of the city to have a mixed use type planned development zoning that's usually called a PUD, you know, by an acronym for a planned unit development. And so what we'd like to do is change the title to this section of the LDR that's to be planned unit developments, and then provide an opportunity for 3 different categories that somebody could come in and say, I want to do either a planned mixed use development where there's residential and commercial all to, you know, master planned in a certain area, or I want to do a commercial and office type planned development, and so there would be a category for that, and then we would retain the current planned residential development, but it would be a PUDR and would kind of follow the same framework. And what this does is allows developers to create master planned areas or neighborhoods or communities that, that incorporate creativity and flexibility in the way that they can decide ahead of time what the distribution and the intensity and the layout would be. And that way they wouldn't have to follow the strict land development regulation code for each type of use. Usually you have neighborhoods, and then you have commercial areas, and you have office areas and recreational areas. And it's hard to take a piece of property and divide it up into 5 or 6 types of zoning and say, well, this is what we want to do, and then they're kind of locked into that. Whereas with a planned development, they kind of master plan it all ahead of time, bring it back to the council when they ask for that zoning change, and then the council has the ability to have input and comments with the developer. And then usually there's a best case scenario outcome from that, so that you have what the vision is of the council, you have the community input, and then you have the developer kind of being able to maximize what they can do on the property and keep their costs down and go from there. So it's a little bit of foresight to adopt something like this, but I think the timing is really good right now. Something that's been on the back burner for several years, and we kind of see that now with the growth that's taking place here, this is an important step that we can take to make provision for these kinds of developments to come. So.
I got some questions.
So I know we all have been to college towns and things, and you'll see apartment complexes 3, 4 stories high, but down below them, there's businesses, donut shop, nail shop, whatever. That's kind of what George is alluding to, multi-use places that would have a high density of people living there, but also business right there underneath it or right alongside it, so that you don't just have only houses or only businesses. It's together. Yes, sir.
I had a question. I heard you say something.
For the record, you need to give us your name.
Jerome Patterson,
Come on up to the.
Come to the
microphone.
Jerome Patterson, I live in Captain, Florida. I was just listening to him, he was saying about residential, commercial, what are they offering for senior citizens that want to relocate here? Does that include, I didn't hear anything about the senior citizen.
Right, the amendment to the code allows for a developer to come in and propose the type of housing or development that would target their customer base, and certainly we're in favor of making provision for any kind of segment of population, whether it's seniors, veterans, millennials. They all play a part of the puzzle, I think, and so I mean, we're for that 100%. But this is just a change to the regulations that would allow those kind of flexible, creative developments to come to the city.
Just kind of streamlines it.
Yeah.
So that you're saying businesses can put up anywhere, they can pop up anywhere?
No. This isn't a citywide change to what can happen on property tomorrow. It's a provision where somebody could make an application and come in and say, I have 2 acres here, I have 4 acres here, or 10 acres here, and this is what I would like to do with that 10 acres. And so I'm applying for this flexible zoning to allow me to be creative and kind of write my own, standards on it. So
Okay, we've heard staff's recommendations.
Ordinance 1499.
I'll have a motion to pass or accept the first reading of the ordinance 1499.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And ordinance 1499 passes. Item I.
Thank you. This is regarding a vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Adjustment with a term that began August of this year and would run through August of 2026. This is a vacant position on the planning board that Ms. Pruitt previously held. And it has been advertised for the last almost 3 months, and we have had one response. Alicia Reddish has made application, and we find her to be competent and a good candidate for this board. So her application and letter is in the packet, so you can get more detail as to background and experience and knowledge. So staff's recommendation is for the appointment of Alicia Reddish to seat to the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay, you've heard the recommendations of staff. So this is the board.
I'll make a motion for the appointment of Alicia Reddish for seat 2 in the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Open for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we had J. Now we have to add.
I could read that by resolution.
Yes, sir.
Title and then an explanation if necessary. City Council Resolution Number 2023-19, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Live Oak, Florida, extending the local state of emergency for the City of Live Oak pursuant to Section 252.38 for M2 Florida statutes due to the threat and now Hurricane Idalia, providing for waiver of procedures and formalities, delegating authority, and providing an effective date. The statute essentially allows this to go forward in 7-day increments. And so I think it was last Tuesday after Labor Day, had the emergency meeting, so we're updating it as the need continues.
Okay, you've heard staff's recommendations of resolution 2023-19. What's the wishes of the board?
Offer motion to approve resolution 2023-19.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries.
So,
Do we have a special call meeting next week?
Tuesday, 26th,
Tuesday the 26th.
second reading of the budget.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure everybody was aware of it. 5:30.
There'll be a CRA meeting afterwards.
Okay.
one thing for the agenda before you adjourn. I would just like to talk, just to speak to my council, my council over here. Just like to let you know that we are elected officials. We don't waste time up here by asking questions. I've heard it so many times you say we waste time for questions.
That's the first time you've heard me say that, look, for the record,
I wasn't-
about wasting
I
time.
wasn't talking, anyway, I'm just saying that we don't waste time. These are questions that if we don't know, we should ask. That's my philosophy. If you don't know, ask. And I'd just like to let you know. And then my thing is I have something important to do myself tonight. And I stayed here for this because I'm an elected official and I hope each one of us take our position serious enough to know that when we get here, it's business that we need to take care of. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you, Joel.
Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
So,
Go ahead, sir.
The motion.
so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.